Hey everyone, and welcome to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, where we break down the latest research into what it really means. Ever wondered if your baby could feel your yawn, or if your tiny human inside you is already picking up on your cues? Well, this amazing new study might just have some surprising answers. Imagine this: you are pregnant, and you let out a big yawn. You might not think much of it, but what if that yawn is actually contagious even before birth? That's the incredible idea a team of researchers set out to explore. They asked, can a mother's yawn actually trigger a yawn in her unborn baby? It's like a tiny, silent conversation happening inside the womb, long before the baby can even speak. This study tackled a really big question: are babies in the womb already showing signs of social connection? Like catching a yawn from their mom. We usually think of contagious yawning as something that happens between people who can see or hear each other, showing we're tuned into each other. But what if this connection starts much earlier, with the mother's physical signals somehow reaching the baby? The researchers wanted to find out if a mother yawning could make her fetus yawn too, suggesting a super early form of mirroring or attunement. So let's talk about yawning. We all do it, right? It happens when we're tired, bored, or even just see someone else yawn. Scientists know it's a pretty old behavior seen across many animals. It involves a specific sequence of breathing and stretching. While it seems simple, yawning is linked to how our brains regulate arousal. Basically how awake or sleepy we are. It's managed by certain areas in our brain. But here is the fascinating part. Yawning also has a social side. We see contagious yawning in humans, chimps, dogs, and other social animals. This is thought to be a sign of social connection, a way we attune to each other. It's like a primitive form of communication, a way to share our internal state with others. Now, what's really mind-blowing is that yawning isn't just a born-with-it thing. It actually shows up when babies are still in the womb, as early as the 11th week. Studies have noticed that these fetal yawns look pretty similar to adult yawns, suggesting they might be important for the baby's development, perhaps helping with breathing and swallowing reflexes. Scientists are starting to see the fetus not just as a passive passenger, but as an active player in its own development. It's constantly exchanging signals with its mother, both physically and maybe even emotionally. We know about things like heart rate syncing between mother and baby, and how things like hormones or even the mother's voice can influence the fetus. All of this points to the womb being a place of constant interaction, setting the stage for how we connect with others later in life. This brings us to the big question of the study: could yawning be one of these early ways mother and baby connect? Could maternal yawning actually influence fetal yawning? This is what the researchers wanted to test by seeing if a mother's yawn, triggered by watching videos of people yawning, would cause her baby to yawn too. To figure this out, they brought 36 pregnant women into a lab. The women were between 28 and 32 weeks pregnant. They were asked to watch different videos. Some videos showed people yawning. Those were the contagious ones. Others showed people just opening and closing their mouths, or looking at the camera with a neutral face. These were control videos, to make sure any yawn from the baby wasn't just because the mom was generally watching videos. While the moms watch these videos, highly skilled technicians use special ultrasound machines to get real-time video of the baby's faces, specifically focusing on their mouths. At the same time, cameras recorded the mom's facial movements. They made sure the babies were awake and active before starting the experiment. They even used a clever computer system called an LSTM neural network, which is like a smart AI to help automatically identify and classify yawns in both the moms and the babies based on specific facial movements. This helped make sure their observations were accurate and consistent. After collecting all this video footage, the real detective work began. Researchers, who didn't know which video condition the participants were in, carefully watched the footage frame by frame. They identified every single yawn, both maternal and fetal, noting exactly when they happened. They also used this advanced AI, the LSTM, to analyze the tiny movements of the lips and noses, looking for the specific patterns that make up a yawn. This helped them measure how similar or different these yawns were between mothers and babies. They also used a fancy analytical tool called cross-recurrence quantification analysis, or KRQA, which is a way to see if two different time series, like the timing of yawns from a mom and her baby, line up in a non-random way. And here is where it gets really exciting. When the moms watched the videos of people yawning, they yawned a lot more. That's no surprise, right? But here is the kicker: the babies in their wombs also yawned significantly more during these yawning video sessions compared to the control videos. This wasn't just random. When they looked specifically at the times before and after the mother yawned, they found a significant jump in fetal yawns after the maternal yawn. It was like the baby was saying, "Oh, yawned, I'll yawn too." They also found a strong positive connection between how much the mom yawned and how much the baby yawned. Meaning when mom yawned more, baby tended to yawn more too. The AI system was also pretty good at spotting yawns, confirming that these movements had a distinct pattern. Even more impressively, when they used the AI trained on mom's yawn movements to predict baby's yawns and vice versa, it actually worked to some extent. This suggests there are shared patterns in how mothers and fetuses yawn, even though they are at different stages of development. The CRQA analysis also showed something very interesting. When they compared the timing of yawns between true mother-fetus pairs, they found a stronger and more coordinated pattern than when they compared a mother's yawns with a random baby's yawns. This indicates that the real random connection happening between the mother's yawning and the fetus yawning. The patterns they saw in these analyses, like the way the yawns lined up over time, suggested that the mother's yawn often seemed to come just before the baby's yawn, hinting at a directional influence. So, what does all this mean? The study provides the first real evidence that a mother's yawning can influence her baby's yawning, even before birth. This hints that our prenatal connection to our mothers might be far more sophisticated than we often imagine. It's not just about the baby receiving nourishment, it is an active relationship. This might seem a little strange because we think of fetal behavior as being driven by internal programming. But this tells us that external signals like a mother's yawn can actually influence these fetal behaviors. It suggests a really early form of attunement, like the mother's body is sending signals that the baby is picking up on. How could this happen? The researchers propose a couple of ideas. One is biomechanical. When a mother yawns, her diaphragm and chest muscles contract, which changes pressure inside her body. This might create subtle vibrations or pressure waves that travel through the uterus to the baby. The baby could feel these as a kind of tactile or proprioceptive input, which might then trigger a response, like a yawn. It's like a gentle rocking or rhythmic stimulation. Another possibility involves hormones. Yawning is linked to certain brain chemicals like oxytocin, which is often called the bonding hormone. When a mother yawns, it might trigger the release of these chemicals, which can cross the placenta and affect the baby. While the exact way this works is still being studied, it is possible that these hormonal signals help synchronize the mother and baby's internal states. The researchers also discuss how this might be a very early foundation for social connection. Contagious yawning in adults is often linked to empathy, but this prenatal connection might be even more fundamental. It could be a basic form of co-embodiment where the bodily experiences of the mother directly influence the fetus, setting a stage for later social interactions. It's not about understanding what the other person is thinking, but about sharing a bodily state. Now, it's important to remember that this is just one study, and like all research, it has its limitations. The study focused on a specific period of pregnancy, so we don't know if this yawn contagion starts earlier or changes later on. The sample size was also relatively small, so we might not be seeing the full picture of how individual differences might play a role. They also suggest that future studies could look at things like maternal stress levels and even physiological indicators to get a more complete understanding of the complex interplay happening in the womb. But even with these limitations, the findings are pretty remarkable. They challenge the idea that a fetus is just passively developing. Instead, it paints a picture of a fetus that's actively responding to and interacting with its mother in sophisticated ways from very early on. This prenatal connection, this embodied alignment, might be laying the critical groundwork for how we form relationships and understand each other throughout our lives. It's a subtle but powerful reminder of the deep early bonds that shape us. What do you think about these findings? Does it make you view pregnancy and early development a little differently? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this dive into the fascinating world of prenatal psychology, please give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe to RUBIN'S Mind Lab for more science breakdowns, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next episode. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.